How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Redemus Maximus.
This is Jay Lovecraft.
I'm your Star Queen.
And this is 8 Bits and Dice Rolls Podcast. All right. Thank you for joining us again, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very, very exciting episode for 2024.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of things going on that are current this weekend. So the first one is, do you remember the show Band of Brothers?
Oh, absolutely. Loved it.
Do you remember the show The Pacific?
Yes.
Okay, well, finally, Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks have come together to finally tackle the airmen of the World War II.
Hell yeah, Army Air Corps.
Yeah, so we finally get a new HBO Max series based on, the sections of Band of Brothers in the Pacific, but it's based on the actual Air Force.
Yep.
So it's going to be pretty exciting for that one. And then obviously the big one of this weekend is Royal Rumble 2024.
Dun, 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 dun.
So yeah, it's actually going to be here in a couple hours. We are going to be watching some of it, and it's not going to be a massive topic because this one we're talking about comics and all kinds of cool stuff coming up. But I wanted to kind of touch base.
It's all that good nerd shit you love, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, because we literally talk about everything.
Yes, we do.
So let's go ahead and dive into Royal Rumble real quick here. So let's go over predictions. Lovecraft, who do you think is going to be for the men's section? Let's talk top 4 left in the ring.
Oh man. Back in the day, I miss Ric Flair. I miss the Big Show. I now miss Dolph Ziggler because he's now with TNA.
Yep.
My jaw scraped to the floor when I saw Mr. Dolph Ziggler being in TNA. Thank you, Nick. You're awesome. Not so sure, to quote Vince McMahon. Every time that bell rings, he doesn't, quote unquote, doesn't know who will win, but we all know who will.
Right, yeah. But what is your personal prediction, you think will win? Much like any other sports thing, right? You can kind of take bets on who are they going to use.
Redemus, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I've been a little out of touch with WWE as of recently, simply because of 2 simple facts. 3 years ago when we first met, or was it 5?
Would have been around, 4 or 5.
Yeah. I got in touch, believe it or not, with the Neo territory system. The new stuff, like NWA, the new TNA, that just came out maybe about a week ago.
What was it you said? AEW, All Elite?
All Elite Wrestling. That's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Featuring Mr. Tony Khan. And unfortunately, though, their biggest founder is no longer there because he chose to jump ship back to WWE because he claimed, quote, he figured WWE was on its way to bigger and bigger things without the founder, Cody Rhodes. Now, having Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, oh man.
Yeah, those 2 are actually on my top 4 of potentials.
Oh man, that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
I would pay real money to see that.
Yeah. Well, so my top 4, and this is just personal because I like the Nightmare, Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see him in the top 4, but the big 3 right now are going to be definitely CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Gunther. So, yeah, I have been watching a little bit more wrestling than I'd like to admit, but, I'm enjoying it, so it's just something fun. I love Asuka.
Of course.
Fun to watch. I just like the whole Venom thing she does. It's
of course.
Very funny. And also seeing her on Instagram of literally doing nothing. She's very timid.
Oh, of course, simply because it's the Japanese thing to do. I mean, you're a wrestler, and then all of a sudden you just go into the public, and all of a sudden you're quiet. And then and then you go back on stage, and you take no prisoners, and you take all the names in the world and let God Almighty sort it out. You know.
Yep. So that's the big one. And then obviously we have the Royal 4 that's going to be happening. AJ Styles.
Man,
LA Knight.
The phenomenal one. I remember back in the day when NWA featured a guy by the name of Eli Drake.
Yeah.
Today we call him LA Knight.
Right, yeah. Yep, definitely different characters and all that kind of stuff.
I know. But
it's so funny how they just change immediately. But yeah, that's my top 4 I would like to see currently. And then the women's, I have Asuka. I think it's going to be, honestly, it'll be Bayley's match finally, because she hasn't won a Royal Rumble according to the records.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. Becky Lynch, because, she's the man.
Oh, God.
Well, the problem is they have made Becky Lynch way too damn likable. So they're trying to set up, I think, to have Nia Jax take over, but she's nowhere near as liked as Becky Lynch.
No, I like Becky Lynch. I
Yeah.
went back
I
on
love
Peacock.
Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I went back on Peacock, and for some reason, you don't get the next day live thing like they've been doing anymore. I think it's because of the whole transfer over to Netflix type deal.
Yeah, but there was also something else that hit like a bomb this morning too. As of late 2024, WWE Network will cease to exist.
Yep, I did see that.
That's sad. That is so sad.
Well, I don't know. It's changing of an era, you know what I mean? Just like anything else. And then Raw is going to Netflix. So
Yeah.
I think that's also another thing why we're not getting updated Peacock episodes, because I think the last episode I watched of both Raw and WrestleMania were on the 22nd, last year. So hopefully they will get that caught up, because I just have the premium, right? Because we get it through our internet connection or whatever for free.
Right.
But at least we get the pay-per-view stuff. So we'll be sitting down watching Royal Rumble a little bit later tonight. And in case there are any wrestler fans that are listening over the weekend, what was your predictions? Who were you excited to, win? Who did you not want to win?
Yep.
Let us know in the comments below about that.
So before we move on, there is also a little bit of a wild card that I don't think we're talking about here.
What's that?
Because people have pointed out, do you know what this weekend also marks?
What's that?
40 years of Hulkamania running wild on you.
Yep, that is true. Also, as of Monday Night Raw, they announced WWE 2K24. It's big because, same thing, 40 years of WrestleMania.
40 years of the Hulkster, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if we're going to see Hulk Hogan maybe doing an upset tonight, and I'm
Coming out for the ring.
either for the Royal
Hollywood
Rumble,
style or da 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 da.
I would love to see like an NWA just busting
The
in.
NWO.
Yeah, NWO.
For
yeah.
life.
Yes.
I think my absolute dream would be if during the US Championship match, Hulk Hogan comes out and just smacks the shit out of Logan Paul.
Oh, God.
Which that match is first defense.
Yeah.
That's happening too. So that's going to be a big deal.
Which, talk about a weird career path for somebody to have. Like, imagine going from being the most wanted person in Japan to being a wrestler in WWE, and now there's action figures that kids can get of you, even though the Japanese government still kind of wants to talk to you about that whole thing.
And Prime, aka Cred.
Oh, yeah,
if you watch the
Cred,
South Park
yeah.
episode. If you ain't got Cred, you ain't got shit, boy.
Well, the creators of South Park do have something against Logan Paul after he kind of ripped off their art style to sell a shitty crypto coin and con a ton of people out of money, so...
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Much like the rest of NFTs, they're all crashing anyway, so
Yeah.
nothing new.
But yeah, I know that's kind of a pipe dream, but again, weird career path. Talk about failing upwards.
I honestly think we could also get an upset from The Rock.
I think so too.
You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Yeah, I think he's going to get up, and interrupt a mid-fight or late fight.
Or he's going to start one.
Or he's going to start one.
That's where my money is.
Yeah, brother.
I still think CM Punk is probably the favorite to win.
He is.
Because this is...
The child boy. So.
Yeah, not to mention his return has been anticipated for so long, and it's what a lot of fans have been wanting for so long too.
You know, I've been following CM Punk since the early 90s, and this kid was phenomenal. Believe it or not, since the days of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman wanted to put CM Punk on TV and just change and revolutionize everything.
Yeah.
And so ever since Extreme Championship Wrestling, from ECW to WWE to AEW, and that's a kettle of fish in of itself with AEW.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my God. And now he's back with WWE. I wonder if he's going to lay down a new pipe bomb for this generation.
I don't know. I mean, I was actually so surprised that, Randy Orton came back, RKO and people. Like,
boy.
So, but yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting one. Let us know in the comment below if you're a wrestling fan. Who was your vote? Who won for you? Who was not what you wanted to win? But let's get to the actual main point of this episode. And it's going to be talking about comics because this year is a big time for comics.
Yeah.
Thank
huge.
God. Needed something different. You know what I mean? So the first thing I want to kind of go over, in case no one has actually seen it yet or not, there's a few books I wanted to go over for Free Comic Book Day. We slightly talked about that last episode. Going forward, it's on May 4th. Happy Star Wars Day.
Oh, yeah. We're going to nerd out on that day, brother.
Hell yeah. First Saturday of the year. If you're wanting some free comics, make sure you support your local comic book store.
Yes.
To get those. Because the other cool thing is they bring in artists.
A lot of them.
Yeah, so you can get some actual really cool prints. I've got quite a few things from Gavin Smith a couple times. He is known for doing some of the newer Lost Ronin and TMNT runs.
God, that's a good book.
Yeah, he's done some stuff with Marvel in general. So yeah, look forward to that one. Star Queen, you have a artist you like that does a Nutmeg, right?
Yes, Jackie Cross. She is the author of a series I like called Nutmeg, and the best way I can pitch Nutmeg to you is take the plot of Breaking Bad, now make it about Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Love it already.
And the whole getting high in your own supply type deal.
Right.
Yeah, they tackle that. There's rival Girl Scout rings that they try to break into. It's a really wild time.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
absolutely. Yeah, and the cool thing is, so if you are local to Indy, obviously we had at the beginning of the year a changeover from Comic Book University.
Yeah, big changeover.
So it is now Mage Comics and Collectibles, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So please support them. They took over the exact same spot where Comic Book University was. Much like any other new company, right? They had to basically restart from the ground. They did not keep any of the original stock. So anything you see in there is pretty much what they've been able to get. And much like anything else, it'll grow, right? We just have to support it.
All it is a simple little tree where the old one was just taken out. And this simple little tree needs a lot of green cash from you.
A lot of green leaves.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you support them because I'm sure they're going to be doing some stuff. If you can't make it to the Greenwood Southport area for comics, if you're down in Martinsville, check out Krypton Comics.
Ooh.
I know they're going to be
place.
having some artists and they're doing Free Comic Book Day. If you're on the north side towards Speedway, make sure you support Ramon's business.
Hey, Ramon.
Comics. Yes, so they're really awesome. Everybody's awesome. I mean, all these stores, we're good friends with all of them. We're trying to get Mage on the actual show. I hope that they do end up listening to this and want to join us and talk about, their journey.
Oh,
That'd be sweet.
absolutely.
The big thing for this year was talking to more guests. So,
Yes.
yeah. But going back to, let's go through a quick little list of the gold and silver tiers that I thought were going to be the really interesting ones that you might be interested in this year.
I am absolutely excited over this.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
And we sat down, kind of looked through them. So these are kind of the big ones. The first one from McNeil Publishing is going to be Unicorn Crush. It's just, they've got to have stuff for kids, mid-adults, teens, young adults and all those kind of things. That was on the top list. Looked interesting. Worlds of James Tinian IV. That comes from Boom Studios. It's actually going to have a special edition cover for Free Comic Book Day, so that's exciting. Dark Horse stands above us with a new Hellboy and Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
So that one's going to be interesting. We've got DC. They've got a Free Comic Book Day special edition that they did not share on the website.
Yeah, they're keeping this hush-hush.
Yes, and if you were a big fan of 70s, 80s cartoons, Johnny Quest.
Oh, I love Johnny Quest.
Yeah, Johnny Quest from Dynamite Studios, which they have been killing it on reboots.
Oh, God, especially the old Johnny Quest and then the later on the early 90s Johnny Quest.
Yeah,
Oh.
and they redid, if you haven't really familiar with Dynamite, they did Gargoyles,
And Red Sonja.
Red Sonja, and they do
Conan.
Darkwing Duck, Conan. Conan actually is on the list for the silver tier as well.
Oh, yeah.
The other big one is going to be TMNT from the illustrious IDW.
You know what? Anything from IDW is gold.
Banger. It's so good. This is going to be a fun one for the two of you two, coming from Image and Skybound. Special editions cover, Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover.
Hell yes.
They're calling it the Enon Universe, which
the
I
Enon.
think I already know what's going to happen in that comic because
Oh, do tell.
they just dropped a huge plot bomb in Cobra Commander #1, which is making it actually already sold out. It's going on to its second printing now.
Isn't that like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing they were trying to do? I thought I saw something about that this morning.
No, do you want to know what first appearance of Cobra Commander has in it now?
What's that?
First appearance of fucking Megatron.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing that's causing it to sell out everywhere. Like how Void Rivals #1 had first appearance of Jetfire.
Yep.
Well, it was revealed, we already knew in the Transformers comics that Starscream is in charge of the Decepticons right now. And it's really weird considering how in the same year we got one of the most wholesome depictions of Starscream in Earthspark, where he's trying to overcome his past trauma. And then on the flip side, we have the biggest fucking shitter characterization we've ever gotten of Starscream, where he's holding humans, picking them up and squishing them in his hand.
Can you say you're actually surprised?
No, but then there
Wow,
was
this
also...
is Dark Transformers. I
But
love
then
it.
there was also a scene back in the arc where I guess Skywalker got injured in battle and they were going to use his parts to bring back another Decepticon. Well, Soundwave goes to pick up Ravage and Starscream drop kicks Ravage and says, "No, we don't need any of the small ones. We need somebody with power." So he brings back Thundercracker.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of people are thinking that Soundwave is probably going to remember that.
I would think so.
And then in Cobra Commander #1, which just came out a couple of days ago, so we already knew from Duke #1 that Cobra is going after Energon because there's now like Energon zombies. It was revealed that Cobra Commander and Cobra has Megatron and they're rebuilding him.
Okay.
Yeah, because we already knew that Megatron kind of got kicked out of the Ark when it was falling from orbit because Optimus Prime now has Megatron's arm after he lost it in a fight. So
Oh, wow.
I have a feeling that, yeah, Enon Universe is going to be probably one of the top selling titles other than The Worlds of James Tynion IV, because I think that is also going to be the big crossover between House of Slaughter and Something's Killing the Children.
Yes, which there are actually a couple more horror type stories on the silver tier too. So I'm glad that they're kind of giving us a little mix of different things. Look forward to that one for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Going on with the list, we're looking at Ultimate Universe with Spider-Man from Marvel Studios.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can't get enough X-Men action, we've got Blood Hunt X-Men from also Marvel Studios.
So Blood Hunt is going to be the new Marvel event going forward. So now we all know Marvel is pretty infamous for whenever there's a big run that every single comic book run gets interrupted to deal with the event. So
Of course they do.
We'll see
6
how
months.
that goes. We will
6
see how that
months.
goes.
That's typically how long these always take too, is about 6 weeks. And then kind of the final one on the gold list, because there was only like 13 books, is the Disney from Papercut Studios, Disney Encanto and Turning Red. So that one's going to be, again, you got to have things for the kids, teens, young adults, and all this.
You got to have a mix for everybody.
Well, actually, something I will bring up is in Encanto, I think we actually discovered the worst superpower on the planet to have in Encanto.
What's that?
Do you remember the girl Dolores who can hear? Her thing
Oh,
is
yeah.
super hearing. She's in a village with teenage boys, and she can hear everything.
Oh.
Yeah, don't be trying to talk drama. She'll hear it.
Yeah, I don't want that power either.
Yep. And then actually there was a couple other ones on the gold tier too I almost forgot about. So from Random House, we've got Witches from Brooklyn. So that's going to be kind of an interesting one. And then, of course, the inner child in pretty much any nerd, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Sapphire with Splatoon 3 mix in.
Yeah, that's for any Pokemon fan. I mean, really.
Yeah, and again, that's from Viz Studios, so you guys are probably familiar with them for anime and all those kind of things. Moving forward, we've got the Silver Tier. So it wouldn't be Star Wars Day if we didn't have some Star Wars books.
Oh, absolutely.
And for the reason why they're in the Silver Tier, I cannot figure out. But we've got the Young Jedi from Dark Horse Comics. DC has got another middle grade Free Comic Book Day Special Edition cover coming out.
And once again, they're keeping it silent.
Yes, so it's going to be very interesting. Do you have any idea what it might be? Because I'm not caught up on DC stuff.
Well, here's the thing about what's going on. They're focusing not only upon the golden age of comic books, the original Green Lantern, Flash, the original Batman and Superman and all that, but they're also placing a greater emphasis on what happened in the 31st century, the Legion of Superheroes.
Okay, so no New 52, no reboot.
None of that.
Okay.
None of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, because everybody across the DC universe knows that there is a multiverse.
Which, again, I think it works for DC. For some reason, Multiverse Theory and all that stuff in Marvel is just, I feel like it's going to be the plot hole and, death of Marvel movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just not working.
Yeah, it doesn't work for Marvel well because they are focused directly upon their world and that's it.
Well, I think it kind of does. I mean, Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse is good. Yeah, I mean, that worked out well for the simple fact it kept all the Spider-Man universe, right? It
Correct.
Didn't really it didn't bounce back and forth with 1,000 versions of Reed Richards and, the Hulk, for instance.
Right. But however, when I got Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, it was now established there is not just 52 universes, there are infinite universes.
Which would make sense.
And now it is now established fact that Earth 616 is one of those universes.
Right.
But we already knew that. We also know that, I forget what universe it is, but remember the Catwoman movie with Halle Bailey?
Of course.
Halle Berry.
Not Halle Bailey, Halle Berry, my bad. That's a universe as well, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I wonder which one
True.
It's like 8132 something. I don't know. It's one of the obscure ones.
We better call them auditors. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I do think that Marvel and DC, when it comes to multiverse stuff, has the exact same fucking problem in which they get way too proud of one character and then they run them into the ground. Because it happened with Captain Carter, and it's happening now with the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh,
That
of
is
course.
true. Yeah, Batman Metal was probably the last one I actually saw. Moving forward, we've got, and this is just following back on the old school TV and books, Mad TV, Mad Mag special edition.
I remember the Mad magazines. Oh my god.
Yes, so that one's going to be an interesting one. And then again, from Dynamite, we've got Maleficent. So another reboot, one they're trying to make their own series of. They've actually started doing a bunch of villain comics.
I'm surprised
Disney villains.
Maleficent. Wow.
She actually had an interesting background, even though if you can get past, what's her name, the chick that played Tomb Raider.
Angelina Jolie?
Angelina Jolie,
Yeah.
yeah. She, honestly, I think she killed it in those Maleficent movies.
Yeah.
So it was a cool background, kind of how she got the way she is and all those kind of things. And I think some of these Maleficent books are doing the same thing.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Yeah. And then we've got the Investigators. So if you grew up with the Captain Underpants series, it kind of looks like that art style. That one is actually going to be from First Second Media. We've got Romeo and Juliet from Gemstone. And in case you guys were missing the old Scholastic bookstore
Oh, I remember
back
that.
in like high school, middle school, whatever you had, we've got a manga actually that I actually think looks kind of interesting. And no, I am in no way, shape, or form part of the unicorn people. I forget what they call them. But this one actually is a manga, so it's called Unico Awakening. It is a Scholastic manga, but it is from a few like very famous Japanese writers for mangas and all this kind of
Right.
things. So it looks really cool. I'm actually interested in that one. The big manga I'm extremely excited for is Q Deja Vu Initial D.
I was wondering when you were going to
That's-
say that.
That's
Yes.
going to be good.
Initial D is going to be amazing, and I'm super excited from that one. That's from Kodansha Media. So that's going to be a cool one. Moving forward with a few other older comics that, again, getting rebooted, and I'm really excited about. There's Flash Gordon from Mad Cave.
That shocked me. I mean, Flash Gordon.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because we're definitely coming back into like a very campy era. Like, I know He-Man is getting another series again, so...
Yep. And they just came out what was it? Is it a new show or is it a continuation of the He-Man one that Mark Hamill plays Skeletor?
It's a continuation of that one.
Okay, yeah, that just came out on Netflix.
Okay.
Check that out. Apparently it's really good. I haven't watched it yet, but...
Anything Mark Hamill does is just golden.
Oh, yeah. And, moving forward with that, we've got Gatchaman.
Battle of the Planets. Yes.
Yes. So, in case you guys are not familiar with that, I highly recommend it if you're into 70s, 80s, old school anime.
Like me.
It is probably a comparison to, let's say Super Sentai, but like with eagle people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's actually very entertaining. I watched a couple episodes not too long ago just to kind of get caught up on, what the whole hype is about it, because apparently there's some really nice toys for it too now.
Yeah, I remember that, getting up really early in the morning and watching this awesome, I didn't even know what it was at first until I just saw, why are these bird people doing some amazing
Weird stuff, kind of like Voltron. It's very weird. And then we've got the Star Wars #1 from Marvel Studios.
Hot damn.
Pretty sure this is a complete reboot of the original one they were just finishing up in the last 2 years. So, whoop-de-doo.
Well, it's not a reboot, it's a continuation.
A continuation, yeah. So that'd be
Because
nice.
technically what they did when they rebooted it all was they started it off just after A New Hope, and then when they redid it again, that was after Empire, with the big scene of the Volume 1 being Luke back in Cloud City to collect his lightsaber, and there was somebody in a cloak holding it out saying fulfill your destiny. And now I think they're moving into Return of the Jedi, because if you look at the cover of that, it's Return of the Jedi Luke.
It is.
So
black,
I think
black uniform.
I think every iteration of it, it's like it's jumping a movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And there's a lot in between those. That's why I really liked the first run, and that's kind of why I was hoping it was not going to be, a reboot. But that's good. And then, of course, there's one other one. So I just want to make the disclaimer, too. I have not listed every single one that's in the gold tier or the silver tier. There are 48 books total.
That's
on
a
Free Comic Book
lot.
Day.
That's a lot.
And in case you guys do want to see the full entire list, I will put a link in the description below where you can actually watch it on the Free Comic Book Day website. There's a lot of really good ones.
Yes,
I mean,
there
especially
is.
for anime fans, manga fans, and older books and all those kind of things.
Or even I got one for you better. Hey, parents, get a comic book. Teach your kids how to read.
Yeah, that's why we have these younger, adult books now, right?
Yep.
We want to get them into comics. That's right. And then, of course, the last one, which is actually going to be a segue into our next section. So this last silver tier book is Overstreet Comic Book Collecting Guide.
Now, for years, that is the comic book collector's Bible.
Yes.
I went by that thing like you wouldn't believe. Until 1996, Wizard Magazine absurded everybody because they came out with their version of how much comic books should be.
The collector's guide, yeah.
Yeah, but here's the issue, the big problem. Neither one of them were the same.
Right. It's like, like when Topps came out, right? And there was a couple different, collector card mags and all that kind of stuff. No one ever agreed with each other.
No one did, and especially these two companies. So,
Well, now I'm wondering how that's going to work even further, because I don't know if you guys saw the news, but you can now start... I think this is personally ridiculous. They're starting to grade manga.
seriously.
Yep, if you have a volume 1 of a manga, you can get it graded now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so it's... I don't want to say, oh, it's spreading, but it is. You can get manga graded now.
Of course it is. It started with the video games at that point.
Yeah, true.
But like I said, that's kind of the segue. So I was talking to Lovecraft earlier this week. We have another friend of ours that collects comics and really gets us hyped about stuff too. We were hoping to have him on the channel today. His moniker is Beefcake General.
That's his gamer tag.
That's his gamer tag, but that's basically what he goes by every time we talk to him. So he's just
Bruce, the barber of Beefcake General.
Yeah. He's a very muscular gentleman that's very nerdy. So.
Oh,
if
yes,
there was
he
ever a
is.
wrestling name for our mutual friend, actually.
That is true.
That is a
true.
very, very WWE name.
General Slaughter had a son. It would be Beefcake General.
It's the Beefcake General with a steel chair.
Wham!
From the top rope.
From the top rope, it's Beefcake General.
Wham!
Which is ironic because we just
And the
had this
cover!
huge argument about him not liking wrestling. So
That's true.
fuck you,
Weird.
man. No, I'm just kidding. That's just the thing. But yeah, so Lovecraft, we were talking about comics earlier this week and last week, and you said you actually wanted to talk about, maybe in case somebody's not started collecting comics and might be interested in it. Why don't you break it down for us?
It's very simple. I remember growing up just going to a certain convenience store, getting a gallon of milk for my mom, and just
Cigarettes never came back. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
and it's like, okay, I'm allocated how much? 60 cents? Yeah, I can get this comic book. Bring it home, give the rest of my change. John, what'd you get? Justice League. Oh, okay. John, what'd you get this time? Avengers. On and on and on this went. Well, simply because we didn't have much money, I always got the team books. Justice League, Avengers, Justice Society, the Defenders, blah, blah, blah.
What made those difference versus buying like single characters?
Well, simply because you get little snippets of the individual characters. What is their synergy with each other? What are the individual characters like? How can they grow and develop and do what they can do or what they cannot do?
Interesting.
So let's use this example. My friend Alec, Beefcake General, he loves Captain America.
He does.
Yes, he loves Captain America, and I gave him this piece of advice. Go get Captain America. If you love him so much, collect his books, collect graphic novels, collect whatever you can, and do that. I do the same thing. If I like Green Lantern, guess what? I'm going to get Green Lantern comic books.
Right.
If I'm into Flash, I'm going to get Flash comic books. If I like Superman, hey, guess what? I'm going to get Superman comics.
Right. And that's kind of actually what I did. So because of Mr. Beefcake General, I started going on the omnibus collecting regime.
Ah, you did the same I did.
Well, because, yeah, like you had a good point. When we went to a couple different stores, there's just not enough graphic novels, right?
No, there isn't.
We need these compendiums because, my God, it's expensive to get single issues anymore.
Yes, I know, simply because of the lack of paper, and plus, not only on top of that, the lack of ink, and not only on top of that, and this is a very sad fact, paper comics are slowly becoming a rarity because they're slowly going to digital.
Yes.
I don't think that's entirely true, but I do think there is some bad actors in the industry. I will say I worked in a library for many years as a graphic novel librarian, and one of the hugest pushbacks I would get from other librarians would be, I don't read superhero comics, I just read indie comics because superheroes are too hard to get into. And my response every single time, without fail, was, okay, if you're scared to get into superhero comics, all you need to do is this. Just pick a character, any character. Maybe you like their powers, maybe you like their name, maybe you like their costume. Pick a character, and if the book is good, you can pick up any book from that character, open the first page, there'll be a summary, and you can read on from there.
Yep.
The mark of a bad comic book is if you pick up the character, you open that first page, read it, and you have no idea what's going on.
I got one for you better. 1981 to 82, there was two individual comic companies. They copied each other. Here's what they did. Marvel started out in 1983 with their own comic line called The Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe. It was 12 issues originally. For the deluxe edition, it was 20, and eventually in the 1990s, for the master edition, it was 26.
Okay.
Now, I would get the original from 83. Okay, what is this character do? And if I like that character, I'm going to get his books.
Yeah.
That gave me a guide in order to figure out what should I collect, what should I not collect.
which is good. I mean, that's why we have these collect guides, right?
Yes.
I actually probably should look into getting them some myself, although I will say, and it may be not exactly a agreed thing among most people, where I feel like Marvel has kind of fallen apart as far as like, it's not even burnout. I think it's just bad writing.
Very bad writing.
But they are introducing new characters that I never would have thought about.
Like Echo.
Echo, yeah, I mean, I think that's great. And, odd man out, I've actually never seen the Daredevil series, right? So I started that actually this week, and I love it.
One of the few titles in which I just absolutely loved was Frank Miller's Daredevil.
Yes. Yep.
Honestly, I don't like Frank Miller that much, but even I will concede that is a really good run of Daredevil.
It's very good.
Yes. And
I want to collect that one now.
Even if you do see Kingpin in his tighty whities more than once.
yeah, you.
That's literally like if I were to walk around. No, I'm not that large. I'm not a beefcake general, but I'm a pipsqueak pop star.
Lots of panels of Kingpin and his tighty whities, and he's so mad because Daredevil did something. He's just got to pump some iron immediately without putting any clothes on.
Interesting. With that being said, though, I like the fact that Marvel and DC are introducing new characters that people might want to get into for that reason.
Yeah.
Find a character you like, start there, and then jump forward. Or if you want to get a little taste of everything, check out Justice League, check out Avengers,
Check out X-Men, check out Alpha Flight. Believe it or not.
Oh yeah, tons.
Believe it or not,
Suicide Squad.
I actually dug Alpha Flight.
Alpha Flight is very cool.
I actually liked Alpha Flight circa 1982 when John Byrne did both the art and the writing for it, because obviously he was a Canadian.
Yeah, first introduction of Mariko, aka Lady Deathstrike.
Yes.
So that's one of my favorite tie-in X-Men characters because I love Wolverine growing up, right? 90s was amazing for X-Men.
Oh God, was it ever?
Yeah, cue the non-copyright version of the X-Men right song. So, but anyway, that was a big thing, and then I grew up with like Spider-Man. That was another big one.
And you know what was really interesting for me eventually later on as I grew up, and I said to myself, and I didn't think about protecting my comics. Mm-hmm. I just had them nice and neatly in one certain spot, no dirt, no dust. And then a friend of mine said, you should get bags and boards.
Oh, yes. Very, very important.
It was like I was 16, 17, and I got bags and boards and tape, lots of Scotch tape.
Lots of tape, yep.
And so basically I had a nice comic book box of nothing else but my personal favorites and nothing else. Eventually in time, I got really, really picky, and I said to myself, okay, what should I get? When in doubt, ask the comic book store owners. What do they use?
Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I never thought about that.
Really?
I do not know why I did not think about that.
I always did. You see, I'm one of those weird people that if I didn't know something, I'm going to sure as hell try to find an expert who knows about that subject and ask.
Yeah, I probably should have done that too.
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
That's true too.
Because I'm not afraid to ask. It's not a sign of weakness. If you don't know, hey, guess what? You don't know.
That's another way to learn, right?
Yeah, and that's what I did. I asked wonderful Judy from the book stack, all the way from Elkhart, Indiana. Unfortunately, they closed back in, early 90s, early to mid 90s, and they finally closed, and they moved out to Wyoming.
Okay, so they didn't necessarily close, right?
They closed.
Oh, they closed. Okay.
They closed.
Not moving locations.
Yeah, they bought a ranch in Wyoming. So.
Hey,
wow,
you know
okay.
what? That's a good ending.
Yeah,
it's a happy ending. So that's cool.
Yeah, and Elkhart was the poorer because of it, because there was not the mecca of comic books, manga, and role-playing games.
Yeah.
So basically, it was just Amazon and God knows where you can find and go.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So all I did was ask, get the bags, get the boards. This is how you store them. This is where how you can store them in boxes, or you can actually set them up just like books. And that's what I did back when I was in my 20s after seminary. I had a whole collection of stand-up books, all alphabetized. The DC shelf was over there. The Marvel shelf was over there.
Oh, good for you.
So By the time I got a family going, sold all of them. And there's an evil smile creeping up on my face over this microphone, and I can't say how much I made.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Again, talking about people that make money and probably really upset that they didn't make more is obviously Beefcake General.
Yeah.
Bought a house literally from selling comics.
Yeah, let's just put it to you this way, folks. My Star Wars collection bought me a house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what my comic book collection bought me.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. And I mean, that's kind of the thing, collector's market, right? First and foremost, I will tell you also, adding to this, if you're wanting to get into comics, please, for the love of God, if you want to read a comic, get the new stuff. However,
Yes.
don't collect it.
Not yet.
There is no money in these comics at all because the prints, they're first print, second print, third print. There's too many prints of these things. They're basically diluting the market for these.
Well, first printing will always
yeah,
have more
first print will have
value
more
than
value.
second and third ones. I think the problem is
The print quality is crap.
well, it's not just the print quality, but where things get a little bit out of control is the variants.
Oh yeah, there's tons of that as an
There
issue.
is tons of variants now. And so when it comes to variants, like, you don't really know what to collect, and then some go for more than others, and then they'll make an exclusive collector's variant that they only sell on some obscure website, and they'll only be like 500, but aftermarket there'll be 500 copies of this one variant, and then you have to buy them for like 200 each, but aftermarket they're worth like $1,000. It's
Right.
I
You
honestly
don't
don't
wanna-
like variants for that reason.
You don't want to go through that mulligan stew.
Well, and I'm going to be 100% honest with everyone, okay? I personally don't care what you collect. I think it's awesome if you collect something.
Yes.
However, booby books are not collectors, like collectibles, okay?
No, cherry is not collectible.
Listen,
I mean,
I can appreciate some cheesecake. I can.
Cheesecake.
No, that is the actual term for it.
yes.
That is the actual term.
Readamus,
for
yes.
It's
I'm very much
Yes.
aware of that, but I'm just saying these books ain't cheesecake, ladies and gentlemen. These are like an art gallery took a shit.
Although, talking of cheesecake, so this is just a short anecdote, but so when IDW had the rights to Transformers, so on the second run, they knew they weren't going to retain the rights very long, so after a while, they were like, well, we don't really care anymore. Well, they do care. They loved working on it. But people asked them, like, hey, what would you do to, like, warm up for, like, those variants and stuff they used to do? And I think it was Nick Roche said, dude, we drew so much porn to warm
Yep.
up. We drew so much porn because with the positioning and everything, it's just how you warm up, I guess. So
Yeah, body anatomy is more difficult than you think.
yeah, now try making that into robots.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
With-
just squares.
Yeah, but with now you have wheels and now you've got smokestacks. But anyway, I wanted to get a little personal myself for a minute, since Lovecraft shared his story about how he got into comic collecting. I wanted to share mine. This actually comes from a very vulnerable time in my life. So picture this, if you will. You just graduated high school and it's your first year in community college. You were uprooted from your state where you went to high school and dropped into another state where you have no friends, no family, but you're expected to go to college, so that's what you do because you don't really know what else to do.
Yep.
So you're in college. It's the heyday of Marvel, it's the heyday of Marvel Universe movies. We're still in phase 1, technically. Because you're bored and you want something to do after class, you go downtown to watch a movie by yourself, because on Wednesdays it's half off. So I saw Doctor Strange in the theatre by myself. There was maybe like 2 other people there. And I watched that, and before that movie came out, I was a huge fan of Harry Potter. The magic in that movie absolutely shat on Harry Potter because of the way the martial arts were interwoven with the magic and the environments, and they were like spinning, flipping, they were manipulating it. I was like, this is so cool. This is what magic should have been in those movies. during your classes, you're like, man, I really want to read a comic now because I wonder if the comics are like this. You used to love reading, but you know how schools kind of force you to read things where you're like...
You immediately lose interest.
Yeah, and you're immediately losing interest.
And it insults your intelligence.
And it's just the same stuff over and over again. I kid you not, when we had to do Romeo and Juliet for an English class, when they tried to give me the book, I actually slid it back across the professor's desk and said, I don't need it. Because I have read that play by Shakespeare so many fucking times, I could literally probably quote you the entire A Plague on Both Your Houses monologue without even looking at my phone.
Wow.
So I want to give this a shot. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do to find comics? Since, you know, Americans have comic shops, right?
Absolutely.
So I Google the nearest one, and it's a little hole-in-the-wall collectible shop that mostly deals with sports cards. But apparently they have comics according to their Google reviews, so you go there, and you go in and you're a college student, and you're also a woman, so they're already kind of giving you the side eye.
Oh boy.
And you ask, hey, do you have any Doctor Strange comics? And they look at you like you've grown a second head.
Okay.
So...
It would be on point for Doctor Strange, I guess.
Well, I guess, yeah, but I think I must have been about 19 at the time, so yeah, you're a 19-year-old college girl going into a sports cards and collectible shop asking for a comic of Doctor Strange. That's not something that really happens every day, I guess. The owner says, well, we do, they're just in the box. And I go over to these boxes they have set up on all these tables, and they're the older Doctor Strange comics, but the problem is, even though they were in bags and boards, actually no, I don't think some of them were even in bags and boards, they were just really random, if that makes sense.
Right.
There was no like cohesion to the collection or anything like that, it was just random older issues. I was like, okay, well, fine, but this isn't really what I want to read. So, take another Google again, and it tells me to go to a town called Greenwood. Now, you just passed your driver's license test earlier that summer, so you go to a place called Half Price Books, and they do actually have some stuff you want to read. Now, although it is a little bit random, so you just buy the series of what you want, and you start reading it. Honestly, I didn't know this at the time, but Doctor Strange was going through one of the best runs it had ever had in the history of the character. So I was hooked from the get-go, and once I started getting back into comics, that became a gateway of getting back into reading. And last year, even though I didn't meet my goal of wanting to read 100 books, I ended up reading 75, which isn't bad.
That's not bad at all.
No. But then I ran into the issue of, because I was living at home with my family, and my family doesn't believe, well actually no, they just started believing in why you should neuter your pet animals. They had 2 male dogs that were not neutered, so they would pee on everything and anything. So you figure, okay, well, you need to keep these comics safe, so how are you going to do that? Well, I look into it again, and it turns out there's a place called Comic Book University, also in Greenwood, so you have to make the Final Destination style drive, that was not really that bad, up there again. So you go up there and you find a long box that is actually made of plastic. And I'm actually not sure what it's called, but I do still urge people, if you can, not to get the paper long boxes and to get the plastic ones just for durability.
Yep.
Because I could literally take that thing, throw it at the wall, and it's still going to be intact, and all those comics inside will be fine. That box has been with me through 2 moves now, and each time those comics have been fine. But comics always will have a special place in my heart because of the fact it got me back into reading.
Awesome.
And while I was collecting just anything and everything to read for a little bit, I have some of my more valuable stuff still.
Well, that's cool. I
Yeah.
mean, when I started collecting comics, it gave me this heavy laden vocabulary. You know, I'm reading the exploits of Mr. Reed Richards, of the Fantastic Four.
Mr. Fantastic, yep.
Yep, you are. And it's like, okay, what is the universe? What is the meaning of life? Is exploring my boundaries of what is possible and what is not possible. So, comic books enlightened my imagination tenfold, especially all the way growing up. So,
And one of the things I would always constantly argue with other librarians when I was working at the library was, one of the big questions facing the system right now is, how do we get, the young people back in here? How do we keep that, mid-20s demographic in here, not just teenagers? And we don't just, they leave when they're kids and then we don't see them back until they're in their 50s, don't know how a computer works anymore, and they need help with taxes.
yeah.
And I would always say, quit being on your high horse about indie comics. You need to get superhero comics. It's what people our age want to read.
Yes.
Right.
Not to mention, you're doing a ton of artists and writers a huge disservice by saying, I only read indie comics. Like, sure, indie comics are great, don't get me wrong, but if you don't branch out, then you're closing yourself off to such a huge variety of stories.
That is true.
And
That
you
is
just
very true.
pigeonholed yourself.
Yeah, not to mention, do we want to talk about the greatest book of all time that deals with social justice issues, the X-Men?
Yes.
Yeah. Basically the ELE, everybody loves everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which now everyone is
Now
going to be
everyone does
mutant, so everybody
everyone.
does love each other. So that's exactly what's going on with that one. So yeah, I mean that's great. We just to kind of recap. So pick a hero,
Yes.
sleeve, board and bag your comics.
Long box.
Long. Oh yeah, so you need a long box for sure to store your comics.
Or if you don't have the resources to get a box, put them on your shelf, and then eventually later on, just file them. And that's what I
Yep.
did.
File them, and I will just be probably the first person to tell you, grading comics has become extremely expensive to do.
It
Yes.
has, yeah.
So
Yes.
I recommend, just from a new collector as well, and also working in the industry itself, grade the comics that you want to grade. Don't grade them because you think you're going to flip them,
Yep.
right? Because
No.
more than likely, one, they're not going to come back as good as you think they are.
So you've lost money right there.
Yeah, and unless you know how to clean and press your own comics, that's another,
Comics are like
Money
cars.
bag.
Comics are like cars. Once you get them,
Yeah.
once you get them out of the
Off the
once you get them out of the shop, guess what? They begin to devalue.
depreciate on certain ones. That's why unless you are collecting, the Silver Age
From
and
the silver,
below,
yeah,
they're not going to be worth a whole lot.
no,
Don't even think about 90s comics. 90s didn't barely have anything. Now, as far as like cool stuff,
no, like
Seth MacFarlane
or even the Sandman by
Neil Gaiman, yeah.
Yeah, my Sandman #1 sold for $600.
Yeah. So there are some national treasures, I would say, in there.
Oh,
but
yeah.
don't grade books because you want to sell them. Grade them because you thought that book was awesome.
First
Yep.
appearances are also going to be worth a
First
lot
appearances
too.
are good too. I mean, I'm not going to say don't get with the whole gig economy and flip economy and all that kind of stuff. But however, don't ruin it for everyone else. That's my biggest take from that is don't ruin it for everyone because there's multiple books I'd love to read. Now I have to resort to getting copies of them.
Yes.
So, and I'm not part of the whole flip economy anything too. If I collect something, I collect it because I want it. And the only time I sell it is because I'm desperate.
Yep. And that's
Also-
how it should be.
But it also didn't help that during COVID, there was a lot of comic runs that were interrupted or had to shut down production
too.
entirely. So that led to short prints, like what happened with the first Thrawn comic
is
book
now
adaptation,
back.
which is now back because of the demand. And
Yeah, thank
Thrawn
God.
Alliances is actually, I think the volume 1 of Alliances came out last week.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that'll be awesome. So then segue into the next part here. Obviously, we're reading comics. Lovecraft, let's start with you. What are you reading nowadays? And why? Just give me like a short, like, what are you reading and why?
Okay, right off the bat, trade paperbacks, graphic novels.
Any particular ones?
No, here's
A little
why.
bit of everything. Okay.
Here's why. Okay. I'm going for what I had in my childhood. Who's Who in the DC Universe, that entire 26 issue volume set. That was great for me.
Okay. Very cool.
Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe, the original 12 issues. Those are worth some money because it featured everything. I read at home Kingdom Come by Alec Ross, and his art is just completely amazing. This is the restoration of the Justice Society under a Golden Age Superman. And then get this, I'm going to give you the skinny real quick here for you. Imagine a world full of heroes and nobody's heroic.
not deceased, correct?
Not deceased.
Okay. That's another series too, by the way, if you haven't heard that one. It's
No.
pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I prefer it over Dark Knight's Metal, honestly.
Oh, there you go.
Now, imagine all the heroes, Wonder Woman, Superman, kind of Batman because he's in his elderly state right now.
Sure.
They're trying to police the world from these superhumans that are now populating the world, and yet, what are they going to do with them?
Okay. Interesting.
It's a 4-issue miniseries. It's a brilliant read.
Oh, perfect. I love short series.
Oh, yeah, but it also provides a very unique message. Just because you have powers doesn't mean you're heroic. You have to prove it.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of a stepping point for like Invincible, right? So
Kinda.
yeah,
kinda.
that's a whole interesting series I just heard about like last year. So I know it's not new, but
I read that. I read Justice League as usual. I also read X-Men as usual, especially the 90s X-Men by Jim
yeah.
Lee.
yep.
Brilliant stuff.
I'm actually reading the giant size X-Men omnibus right now. So they're for like Uncanny.
Yes, with Thunderbird and Nightcrawler, Colossus, Wolverine, Storm, Banshee.
Yeah, all those guys.
The
Cyclops and
second generation of X-Men. Love them.
Yeah, it's very cool. Star Queen, what are you reading?
The Jed McKay run of Moon Knight, it's good, read it.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's honestly has one of the best matching art styles to its plot line, and the art in it is just so gorgeous. It actually takes place entirely, mostly at night, weirdly enough.
Okay.
So it's mostly about Mark Spector as Moon Knight. He, because of all the things he's done, including a recent stint of beating up all the Avengers because the Eternals were trying to take over the Earth, and Khonshu was like, hey, go deal with this before it happens. So he tried to warn the Avengers, and the Avengers were like, we're not listening to you, you're crazy. Mark Spector was like, alright, well, if you think I'm crazy enough to take all of you on. He got defeated
Okay, so
eventually.
Deadpool takes on the universe.
Well,
Wow.
no, eventually he kind of got his ass handed to him, and
Oh, that would make sense.
yeah, although he did have a pretty cool fight with Thor, because I don't think, even this didn't click with me, but Mjolnir is made from the power of a dying star, right?
Correct.
It was forged at a dying star, yeah.
What's Khonshu the god of again?
The moon and the stars.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, so what was Thor throwing at him the whole fight?
Basically, Khonshu.
A giant moon rock.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so
He can hold Mjolnir.
he can't hold it, but he can control it. So, like, when he points, it flies where he points.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, so he was using
Yeah.
Thor's own hammer to beat up Thor because it's a moon rock.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
No, I
that
get it.
happened. So that happened. They called it the Age of Khonshu, and then after that is where this series takes place, where Mark is feeling a bit of remorse, so he's kind of put himself down to the street level a bit more, so he's trying to help people. But the problem is, also in his dominion, you have to watch out for vampires,
Oh, absolutely.
who are also travelers of the night, and somebody in New York is going around making a lot of people their unwilling vampire cult members.
Oh, very cool.
So he's trying to get to the bottom of that, and there's also a lot of shenanigans around balancing the multiple personalities. There's a lot of cool action set pieces, and the art is just gorgeous. We also have a second Moon Knight that was introduced because Khonshu has two fists. He's not a one-handed god.
Correct, yes.
So we have the Moon Knight, and we have
yeah,
the
that's the one I
Harvest
was
Moon.
reading a little
Yes,
while ago.
yes, that's the one I'm recommending.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now I'm following. Yeah, that actually is a really cool story for sure. I'm not
Yes.
done with it yet, but I'm definitely also going through there as well.
Yeah, I'm just about to crack into the volume 4 of that in the trade paperbacks, and I cannot wait.
Awesome. Yeah, and so like I mentioned earlier, I started collecting omnibuses because single issues are really expensive. And my biggest one right now, I'm actually floating kind of back and forth. So I'm gonna, obviously, if you guys have caught up to our episodes, and I'll put a link for the one that I do talk about it. Dr. Doom is one of my favorite characters.
Oh yes, I persuaded you to buy Infamous Iron Man.
Yes, and very long story short, in case you're ever interested, what it would be like if Victor Von Doom was actually a nice guy.
Emperor Doom.
It's, well, Iron Man Doom.
Because Doom does what he wants, and if Doom wants to be Iron Man, then he will be Iron Man.
He is going to be Iron Man. He literally took one of Tony Stark's suits when they quote unquote said he died.
Wow.
Yeah, and he became Iron Man. Yeah, it was like
if Doom wants to be Iron Man, then Doom shall be Iron Man.
yes, and he's still Doom the whole entire time too.
And is he performing super heroics?
Oh yeah, actually,
he is.
I mean, he's really taking care of people in Cabal, and taking care of all like the D-list villains and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting.
Oh my god!
All at the same time, while there's some weird shenanigans going on with Mephisto and all that stuff. But I'll let you guys read that story because
I want to read this.
I really enjoy it.
I really want you, Readimus, to read Triumph and Torment next, which
That's on the
Oh,
next
I
list
love
because that
Triumph.
does.
Yes.
Yeah, that ties into a bit of this story.
Well, it's how Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom basically became frenemies.
Yes, and they touch
Pretty
on
much.
that in this one. So
Pretty much.
it's very cool. The other big one I'm about to start reading too is the Marvel Zombies series.
Excellent.
It's really sad.
Yeah, that's what you've said before. The big reason for that one is because I got the Marvel Zombicide game last year, and then now I've got a few more newer expansions, which that game is amazing. In case you guys haven't seen that video either, it's really good.
You should see the video, kids.
Yeah, and we picked up the X-Men expansion, and I got the Sinister Six expansion. But anyway, it got me interested in the Marvel zombie stuff. And, long story short, Halloween of 2006, there was a Halloween, haunted house type deal. And the creator over at German Park turned half the park into Marvel Zombies. Wow. Oh, it was awesome. It was great. It wasn't even really scary. It was just like, oh my God, this is actually really cool looking. So I'm wanting to get to that one. But my other big one right now too is back in Christmas time, Beefcake and I have a similar friend named Isaac that likes a lot of the same samurai stories, Japanese stories, and stuff like I do from feudal Japan. And he was mentioning he really liked Yojimbo and he liked Lone Wolf and Cub, and
Man's got taste.
He does, yeah. He's got some taste. He's got Kurosawa stuff. So we are looking for Lone Wolf and Cub as a manga and all that stuff. But then it clicked, and I'm like, oh my God, he would like Usagi Yojimbo.
He would.
The bunny guardian, basically. So then I had in my Amazon wishlist for a very long time the collector's edition of Stan Sakai's full run of Usagi. Beefcake beat me to getting it. So I was like, well, I can't have that. So then I bought it too, and I got it half price compared to what he paid.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've been reading those three. Those are my big ones right now that I 100% recommend. Obviously, I'm trying to get through a bunch of other ones. I want to read Devil's Reign, which is the Kingpin story. Stuff about Daredevil, going forward and all that. That's kind of some of the books that we're reading. Is there any ones you guys are actually looking forward to coming up that you know about?
Thrawn Alliances, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that just came out yesterday.
Yeah, I was still waiting for the trade paperback as well for that. Transformers, I'm waiting for the trade to read it fully, but I keep getting spoilers. Actually, the Jango Fett miniseries they're getting ready to do for Star Wars as well.
Yes. Very excited for that one, too.
I cannot wait for February.
Around the corner.
Here we go, February. The Mighty Thor, the complete Walter Simonson run.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, $180.
Jesus.
Honestly, might be worth it.
Yeah.
It's about that thick.
Makes
sense.
I mean, omnibuses, man.
So
they're-
it's gorgeous looking, and it's complete 100% written and drawn by Walter Simonson.
I wish you could read that giant-sized Jack Kirby I got you guys for Christmas.
Brother, it's still sealed.
Yeah, it's
nice.
probably the best way to do that. That is an awesome series too.
It's still sealed, and when I die, it's going to my daughter.
There you go. It's an investment piece. That's why I bought it. So
I still want to read that Doctor Strange that you got me for Christmas, Lovecraft, as well. I haven't actually had the chance to crack into that yet.
You should. It's
but
brilliant.
I read the run before that, and it was Death of Doctor Strange actually surprised me with how good it was.
It's that brilliant.
yeah, so we've got a lot. There will obviously be tons of updates on comics this year. That's one of the big things. Like I said, we want to do guest appearances, talk about comics, more video games, just general science. We've got another big Star Trek project we're working on in case you guys are interested in that one too.
Oh,
That's going to be
yeah.
a little down the pipe because it's going to be both expensive and time consuming. But we actually are going to go ahead and end this episode because it's running over a little on time and we got to catch Royal Rumble. So
Yes, we do. We got to go.
thanks so much, everyone, for joining us on this awesome journey about comics. Let me know in the comment below, what kind of comics are you reading? Who are you rooting for Royal Rumble?
What is your favorite comic book character?
Yes.
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah. Do that wonderful, crazy things that you all do, as Mr. Lovecraft loves to say.
Yep, leave that comment, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell, you crazy lovers.
That way you
Hit
get all the
that-
notifications.
Hit that bell so hard that Venom would scream, "Stop!"
That's true, yeah, because he hates bells. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody, and until next time, make sure to put that coin in the slot, hit that power button, roll for initiative, and we'll see you next time.
Later.